your story. 08000 855 949. Are you still living with the consequences of COVID? Joe is in Bishopston. Joe, hi. Good morning.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me on. It's really important for people with hidden illnesses to have a voice, so thank you.
My privilege. Absolutely. I don't take what I do here than anything other than a privilege to give a voice to people like you. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of people living with long COVID. There are many who are working their way through it, but are living with the symptoms of it. There are those who are totally disabled by it. Where are you on that scale?
Yeah, I'm living with the consequences. So I was totally disabled and bedbound for a long time. My husband too. Gosh. And now it took me a long time after about 18 months off work to build up to being back to work 50% time. And I've had to, that's been my limit the last 2 years. I've not really managed to progress beyond that. But it's enough to give me back some sense of life and value. But my husband's probably still in bed about 50% of the time, but I'm out of bed quite a lot of the day, but by 6 o'clock I can't move. I'm back in bed, and things like if I have a shower, I often need to have a lie down. I have a sofa at work where I can have a lie down if I need.
Blimey. What was life? Joe, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to do a compare and contrast. What was life like before COVID? What were you and your husband doing before COVID?
Yeah, so I'm a professor at University of Bristol, really busy, full-time work. Love working with my students and doing research. I love dancing and cold water swimming, really active, playing a family band, all sorts of things. So, really, really active.
So this version of you, post-COVID, is a version that's very different to what you were living pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have to do. I mean, I don't want to say I've sort of learned to live with it and find the moments of joy and just take a different approach to what gives me value and be much more serious about recuperation and rest. I do a lot of planning and how to manage things. I think what was hard for me was our kids. One of whom's disabled, but they became our carers, and they still are. They stay, although they're at uni, they stay at home and they help cook for us and do various other things.
A role no parent wants for their child. I mean, I think I can safely say that no parent wants their child to be their carer. It's a circumstance that makes it happen. So this is a serious. I'm going to move on to Mark because I want to give everybody a voice if I can during the course of our first conversation. That this is a consequence of COVID. That, I mean, do you ascribe blame to anybody for that, or is it just brutal that you got it and this is what it's done to you and thousands, tens of thousands of others, whereas others shook it off within a week?
Yeah, the COVID inquiry is quite clear that more could have been done. If they'd shut down a week earlier, 23,000 lives would have been saved. We wouldn't have got long COVID. Our elderly neighbour we caught it off, who died, wouldn't have died, and we wouldn't have long COVID. And then when we brought that information to government with a report from health experts and patients, that was given to government, and Boris Johnson himself was briefed on it, and he wrote on that, I'm sorry to use this word, but this is a direct quote, bollocks. This is Gulf War syndrome stuff. So it was systematically ignored by government, and they failed. Once they did know, and they had information from May in 2020, they failed to warn the public. And then they've given minimal support, and still our services are shutting down. The health messages.
It's also, I'm not here to defend anybody. That is not my job. And apologies to anybody who got offended by that word that you just used there. But that said, it's worth remembering that Boris Johnson almost died of this thing. So, it almost killed him. So it's interesting that you can go from what you said to ending up being on a ventilator. It was an extraordinary time. Joe, I hope you and your husband continue to improve, and I thank you for joining me and sharing your story. It's really important to hear voices like yours. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe there in Bishopston. Mark is in Winscombe. 08000 855 949. Are you still living with the consequences of COVID? Are you, Mark?
Yes, I certainly am, John. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
Yes, I was a very early adopter